Cool. So we are recording the session. Awesome. Anyway, we did say what I was saying was that I did ask you guys there to just go on my Instagram, check the stories out, and vote for any pair, obviously, that you guys, excuse me, would just like us to add on to the weekly market forecast. And the most voted pair was gold, XAU USD. Other pairs that you guys voted for are pairs that are already on the list, and then obviously we were just picking the most voted pair. So otherwise, we're going to include gold onto the watch list. So we'll just go through gold once we're done with everything else. Yeah, cool. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Let's get it, Mpumelelo. Let's do the things to be done. Let's do the things to be done, man. Otherwise, let's get started with AUDCAD. I do apologize for not uploading last week. I did do analysis, but load shedding was killing me, so I couldn't host the session and all of that stuff. But otherwise, everything is still on here from last week, so you guys will still see what the bias was. We'll just update the structure and then just keep relevant to what's relevant to us. So anyway, momentum, corrective structure, still stuff that we've been talking about for the longest of time. Inside of this corrective structure, we've got a touch there, we've got a touch there, we've got a touch there. Obviously, we were looking for a bounce away from our support trend line, coming back to just this most recent price action here on a daily. Let's just do this. Cool. Just the most recent price action here on a daily. What we were looking at was, okay, so I was bullish, well, a little bit bullish last week. But where price action was obviously we were somewhere close to our resistance area. So we couldn't be bullish from here. So all we were waiting for was basically just for price action to pull down lower. Where are we in this overall structure? If we just take a look at the highs and lows, obviously in this nonsense that's going on here, just the most recent structure, we've got this extreme low, obviously, we've got an extreme high. And then obviously we've got price action breaking an extreme low. So the last move was obviously a new lower low. And then right now, we obviously got price action coming up and then breaking resistance, giving us a new higher high. So what is our conclusion of this price action? We created the high and we created a low. Obviously, we broke the low, giving us a lower low. We broke the high, giving us a higher high. Conclusion being that on a daily time frame, price is inside some sort of a chop over here, obviously, because there is no direction. We broke a low and we broke a high. So which direction are we moving? We're moving pretty much sideways. But obviously, we have information on a higher time frame of this being a nice descending structure. And we know that descending structures, we expect the momentum to break towards the upside. So that's kind of our thought processes as we're dropping down onto the smaller time frames. We want to try and trade in the direction of the higher time frame. Now, obviously, on a 4-hour, you guys can see we've still got an ascending structure here. We're still inside of this ascending structure. We've got our resistance there. And obviously, we're coming towards another resistance. Maybe let's just mark it out there. Why so thick? Cool. We're coming towards another resistance up there, and we're also coming towards this resistance trend line. So obviously, yes, we do want to be buyers, but the closer we get to any form of higher time frame resistance, the less we're going to be buying aggressively, or at least looking to buy and swing on a smaller time frame. So otherwise, because of the overall structure, we want to be bullish. But on a 4-hour, we've got this ascending structure obviously going against our overall bullish bias. All we're going to do is we're still going to look for our bullish bias setups, but obviously we understand that we can't take those setups now because we're at resistance. Simple enough, the setups, the bullish bias setups that we're going to be looking for are from these POIs here. These are the only nice momentum shift areas. Obviously, we want to be buyers. We want to buy where we see other people buying. Where's a nice indication? Bullish engulfing. So obviously, there's one there, there's one there, and there's one there. So we've got 3 POIs for any bullish momentum, any bullish bias setup. This is where we'll look to take those setups. So it doesn't really matter whatever price AUDCAD does, wherever we are right now. For us to be able to buy, we need to see price action being inside of these areas, giving us entry criteria. If we're not inside of any one of these 3 POIs, then we can't be looking to buy our high time frame bullish bias. Otherwise, the overall structure you guys can see first touch, second touch, third touch. We're inside of this structure looks like it's going to be a sell bias structure. If you find probabilities on you finding, I don't know, downside momentum or whatever the case is, then switch your bias, be downside or be sell bias. Obviously, you're still going to be looking for the exact same things. You need price action to give you your entry criteria. So wait for that chart pattern, ascending structure, whatever. Wait for market to give you a reason to jump into the trade. So it doesn't really matter which directional bias you're going to pick here. I think for me, I would just still like to be involved in whatever bullish momentum, because this looks like it's fairly aggressive. It looks way more aggressive than New Zealand dollar CAD did look for a very long time. But yeah, so I'm bullish bias. I'll just continue the bullish bias. If the sell bias structure does play through, then let it just play out. We'll just stay out of that, out of AUDCAD for sales. Anyway, so we look at AUD Swiss franc. We'll look at it. We'll start off on a day. So daily, we've just been looking at just the most recent price action. So most recent price action, we've just got price action giving us some sort of a descending structure. We broke this descending structure, but did we break with momentum? No, we did not. So obviously we concluded that, okay, yes, we did break the descending structure to the upside, but we broke in some sort of a corrective structure. So pretty much we're moving sideways. All we did to simplify all of this nonsense that's going on is we just looked at the highs and the lows within the structure. Price came down, gave us a low, gave us a high, gave us a new low, gave us a new high, and then came down and gave us a new low. So obviously this is the most recent resistance that we have. This is the most recent support. Our most recent level of structure, obviously giving us an extreme high and extreme low. Conclusion being, price is moving in some sort of inside some sort of a range. So what we want to do is we want to trade the probabilities of a range, look to trade at the highs or at the lows for those nice probabilities. Now on a 4-hour, we also got stuck inside of a smaller range, because if we look at the overall structure over here on a 4-hour, we were kind of bullish, highs, lows, obviously. Then we came up where we created highs, and then we created lows. And I guess ever since we created this high and this low, we've been stuck inside of that high and that low. So naturally, so we were looking for another sell buy setup inside of here. I think it's been like, even if, yes, I didn't upload last week, but even the week before, we were still looking at the same POI, nothing really changed. So you should have still been looking at the exact same structure. But otherwise, we were looking for a sell buy setup over there. We did drink above the POI, but nonetheless, we did reject from there. So I think things will still pretty much stay the same for me. Nothing's changed. We're still stuck inside of ranges. And for us to trade ranges profitably, we need to be trading the extremes of the range. So otherwise, since we've got some 4-hour structure, maybe a rejection from this momentum, maybe the safest thing for us to do is to look for a reduced risk entry. We've got a level of structure that price action has broken above and broken back below. Maybe for a reduced risk entry, all we need to be doing is just looking for a retest of the structure to look for downside continuation. Obviously, you guys can drop down on a lower time frame, look for your source or your origin of momentum, your momentum shift, and that's where you're going to look to try and find an entry where you saw other people selling. Otherwise, if we fail or if the setup fails from inside of here, then the next place where we want to sell is still up here. Nothing, literally nothing changes about the setup that we're looking for, except maybe now we can include, since we're seeing the sellers involving themselves now, if price action doesn't come back up and we still continue to the downside, then obviously we've got support here where we can pay attention to the structures that develop to look for bullish momentum. And if the setup fails, if we get inside here, then obviously we look for bullish momentum down at this extreme low. But for now, I am more sell biased than I am bullish biased, just because of the overall structure. I do see a sense of sellers involved there. So I am going to look for some sell bias trading momentum. Maybe let's just set an alert, and then once this alert gets triggered, then maybe let's just put this on the watch list. But for now, or maybe I think AUD Swiss franc looks a little bit hotter than AUDCAD. I don't know what do you guys think? Maybe let's just set an alert on AUDCAD, because for the buy, AUDCAD looks like it's quite far from where we want to buy. So maybe let's just take AUDCAD off the priority list for next week. We'll put AUD Swiss franc on, because it seems a lot closer towards giving us a sell than AUDCAD is towards giving us that buy. Anyway, let's just go on to AJ. We'll see what's cooking on AJ. So on AJ, last week, I was a little bit sell biased, but I was scared to take the trade. I was sell biased, but I was scared to take the trade because of this descending structure inside of here. We were at support, a level of structure that we broke below, broke back above, and yeah, cool. So that's kind of why I just was a little bit scared to sell from inside of there, but nonetheless, it played out, whatever. Just is what it is. So looking at the overall structure here on AJ, higher time frame, we still got this ascending structure here. We broke below, obviously, the momentum. Then we were expecting a retest of this POI. I don't know if we should still be waiting for this, because price action, I thought maybe we were going to get that retest from this structure over here, but cool. Price action just did what it did. So otherwise, looking at what's going on here, we still have maybe our extreme lows. Remember this extreme structure, because we've been like kind of ranging. That's kind of how we've been trying to trade AUDJPY, just sticking to the most recent price action, being reactive more than we predicted. So otherwise, we're still inside of this range, still extreme highs, still extreme lows. Obviously, the closer we get to here, the less we want to sell. We can't sell into a support. For us to find continuation, we need to drop down onto a smaller time frame and just look for the continuation to the downside. Since we're seeing a whole bunch of sellers involving themselves over there. Even this expanding structure just ruined things. We broke above I had a smaller POI there. It was just nasty. It was just nasty. Maybe it was okay that we stayed out of, or that I stayed out of this pair, because I don't know if I would have been able to trade something that looks like this the next time. But it was nice. It was nice. A lot of conflicting information inside of here. But otherwise, I think what we can do is let's just accommodate for this most recent low that we have there that we just broken below. Let's leave the structure the way it is. Since we're inside of this range, we're inside of this chop. Let's see, maybe we'll get an opportunity to buy if price action breaks back into our structure, and then maybe we retest or whatever the case is. Maybe we'll get an opportunity to sell if we tap into this high POI, because I think this is the next 4-hour POI that we have, or next momentum shift, next bearish engulfing, that we can try and look for some downside continuation. I would maybe also include this one over here, but let's only use this POI if price action comes down and breaks this support. Only if price action breaks this support can we maybe then start to look for retest inside of this POI. So I think I still maybe want to be bearish because of all of this momentum, and obviously our higher time frame structure. High time frame, we've got this ascending structure and we've been expecting downside continuation, but the structure has just been confusing as a lot. Yeah, very confusing. So AJ, I am still, let's just be bearish bias. We will change our bias bullish if we break back into structure, and obviously we correctively come back down if we're inside of the structure. But for now, we're seeing the sellers involved. We wanted to sell, we tried, but we failed. So let's see if market gives us continuation next week. So let's still be sellers, but I don't think this pair is very far from this POI here. So AJ, in terms of sell bias momentum, let's take it off priority for next week. Let's go into some AU. So AU, I did try and sell AU. I held AU for 2 days, just trying to be patient for 2 days, and it didn't give me the money. Ended up closing out at break even. But it is what it is. We'll find it again. We'll find it again. Let's go back up to the higher time frames. So on AU, we've got this overall descending structure. We had a reversal. We broke back into the structure. A lot of momentum. Cool. We want to be involved inside of this momentum. But if we look at where we are within the overall structure, you guys can see on a daily, there's a bearish engulfing here on a daily, which obviously means a momentum shift to the downside. Someone decided to aggressively sell from this area. That's where they came into the market. So obviously, the closer we get towards this resistance, the less we're looking to buy. We can't buy at a resistance. At resistance makes more sense for us to be sellers, right? That's kind of why we had a bearish bias last week. But otherwise, let's just drop down to a 4-hour. So we do have an overall context of the higher time frame descending structure. We want to be buyers, obviously, to find bullish continuation. This buy is done. Definitely done. If ever there was a buy there, let's also just delete this nonsense here so we can get a clearer picture of what's going on there. Sure, this looks like one big mess. So otherwise, in terms of the buy, guys, if we look at the buy, for us to be able to use this as a momentum shift area, let's rather wait for our resistance to be broken, because I'm sure you guys I can see the bullish engulfing here. Sure, you guys can see the bullish engulfing there. And I know I want to use it. I know we all want to use it. But let's think about risk to reward ratio, guys. We have an extreme high. That price, we could see sellers. We don't know. No one knows. We could see sellers jumping into the market at this resistance. How much risk to reward ratio or opportunity are you going to let to if you do, excuse me, if you do jump into this buy from here on a retest, what's your potential, or what are the probabilities of you letting your winner run from this area here? That's kind of, we want to take a risk where it makes sense for us to take a risk, right? If we look at the 4-hour, let's just delete all of this nonsense. If we look at the 4-hour, we can already see there's some corrective price action that's going on here. We've got an extreme high. Obviously, price action gave us an extreme low. We came up, we created a lower high, but doesn't really matter whether a lower high, we don't care. Point is that we broke our highs here and we broke back below our highs. So obviously, price is already showing us that something corrective is happening inside of this area here. So naturally, I'm going to want to look for some sort of a corrective structure. So already I'm just going to take into account what extreme highs I have over here, take into account whatever extreme lows I have over here. And you guys can see already on AU, there is a sell bias setup that is forming. Obviously, you guys can see the reason and the logic behind why it makes no sense for us to look to continue our buys from this area here. Price is way too close there. And we might just see maybe, I don't know, something weird happening. We can already see corrective price action here. Let's rather look to trade at extreme highs or extreme lows whenever we're involved inside the chop. We don't want to trade inside the chop. So otherwise, for a nice sell bias setup, I'm sure it's clearly obvious, a huge momentum shift there, huge extreme resistance. First touch there, second touch there. You guys can see we can expect price action to come up and give us a third touch. Nice confluences inside of this area for us to short AU from here. So over the course of next week, guys, I am more sell biased than I am bullish bias on AU just because of the context. Where are we within the overall structure? I am in a place here where I saw a whole bunch of sellers, and FYI, all of those sellers that came into the market here were able to break a support. All of these sellers that came into the market here were able to break this support that we see here. I don't know who bought from here, but whoever bought from there and whoever bought from maybe inside of here, whoever this guy was, they were more. The volume was more sell biased from this area. So obviously I can't buy into this resistance. So I'm going to be more sell biased than I am bullish biased over the course of next week on AU, just waiting for price action to come up. Give us that third touch, complete the setup. Let's look to short AU. Otherwise, for our buys, I guess, are quite obvious. For our buys, we can't be looking to buy anywhere inside of whatever nonsense is going on inside of here. For us to buy, let's rather wait for some sort of a break and a retest, because you guys remember this resistance, all of this momentum. Let's rather wait for price action to come down to some sort of a support for us to find that continuation. We do have some 4-hour POIs there, and maybe we'll just leave this one out and we'll use this daily one here. We'll try and look for a 4-hour one inside, or let's just do it now instead of saying we're going to do it. Let's be proactive about things. Because we can see there's a bullish engulfing here on a daily. We want to trade inside. The higher the time frame we see the information, the more valid that structure is to us. Otherwise, here we see another bullish engulfing on a daily. So I want to go down on a 4-hour and see if inside that bullish engulfing that I did see on a daily, which was inside of here, do I find any bullish engulfings? No, I don't. Clear and obvious, I don't see any bullish engulfings inside of there. So all and well be it, we won't use any POIs inside of here. Let's just maybe use this as our lowest buy. Wait for price action to come down into this POI here. And that's where we look to trigger our buys. Otherwise, all things scream sell for me right now, looking at this overall structure. Let's go on to some Swiss yen. We'll start off on a daily. You guys know Swiss yen was nonsense to us last week. She pumped us into a buy. So basically the same buy that I was seeing here on AJ that made me scared to jump into the downside continuation was the buy that we actually triggered ourselves into on Swiss yen. And yeah, JPY code pairs just decided to do what they wanted to do. So otherwise, looking at this chop that we had over here that we've been expecting maybe to get out of, someone can say we finally created a new lower low and we broke to the downside. In terms of what I'm going to do on Swiss yen, I think the only thing I'm going to do is just try and look to continue to sell. So let's just delete all of this. All I see here is delete all of this nonsense that's not relevant to me anymore. I'm just going to try and look to continue to sell with the seller since we've been wanting to sell. I have no idea. Market, you know, this is what happens a lot of the time. What happened, I guess what happened to me, and I guess it happens to the best of us at the best of times, is that you'd have a bias in a specific direction, and over time market makers are going to work you like how they worked us in this area. They even gave us a nice descending structure, perfect confluences, we broke below, whatever. They work us into changing our bias before they actually send price action in a direction that we've been trying to look to trade in this whole damn time. But it is what it is. It happens to the best of us. We just trade what we see, not what we assume. So we saw that, we traded that. So now I guess I'm going to try and look for that downside continuation. All I see here is a nice, beautiful momentum shift from this area here. So that's what I'm going to use as a POI on a 4-hour. If price action has the will to come back up to here and give me the sell, then that's where I'm going to try and look to take the sell. If ever I'm going to sell something, I want to sell it at the most expensive price. If ever I'm going to buy something, I want to buy it at the cheapest price because I want to make profit. Cool. So Swiss yen, I'm taking Susian off my watch list. Yo, this pair just, I think she needs to go. I think she needs to go. Let's just wait for Q4 to end. If Susian does not give me a setup and does not make me money from now until the end of December, she's off my watch list next year. Guys, I'm sorry, you won't see Susian next year if she don't give us any more money. Because ultimately, what are we trying to do? We're trying to create a watch list or something that's going to be, I want to be net profitable on all the pairs that I'm trading. I'm not looking to make money on US30, to make money on this. I don't care where I lose. I don't care where I win. I want this whole portfolio of pairs at the end of the week, at the end of the month, to make me net profitable. And if there's one pair that I can see that's just bringing down my whole portfolio, two pairs actually, Susian and New Zealand dollar yen, they might leave because they're not supporting the vision. They're not supporting the vision. Make money on US30, lose it on Susian. Where am I going? You see what I'm talking about. But otherwise, let's get into New Zealand dollar CAD. So New Zealand dollar CAD, guys, yo, I don't know. I couldn't have guessed that the buyers, that Bob was there. I didn't know that institutions were in this move from the beginning. From the beginning, yo, you guys saw all of this chop here. We didn't have momentum as we were breaking the structure. There was an ascending structure. Price didn't have price didn't pull back to any deep pure. Yeah, hey, this was just pure movement, and I guess we weren't involved, and it is what it is, hey. But otherwise, we do have a new break of structure, new break of resistance, and we do have some nice PRIs. On a daily, we can obviously see there's a nice bullish engulfing inside of here. And then I guess other areas where we might want to buy. This is way too far for us to try and look to continue. We don't look to enter the market while it's moving. We always wait for things to slow down. We wait for that corrective structure. I don't know what processes you guys use, but my trading process, I am trading corrective structures in preparation for the next impulsive momentum. So I want to be involved inside of this thing. I don't want to try and get it while it's moving, because while it's moving, I don't know when it's going to stop. I should be involved already. Otherwise, let's go down onto a 4 hour and see if we can find any POI inside of there. Yo, my heart is so sore about all of this momentum. I'm so jealous. So jealous. I just see money. I just see money that we just didn't get. Do we have a break and a retest? Resistance. Nothing inside of there. Jesus, nothing inside of there. You see what's wrong with this pair, guys? We don't have any POIs. There are no momentum shifts inside of here that we can use. This is still literally the only momentum shift that we have. Only obvious sign of buyers involving themselves on New Zealand dollar CAD. That's why I'm saying, like, who could have guessed that we would have had so many weeks of, like, literally the whole descending structure is just playing out. But on a smaller time frame, price action really is creeping to where it's moving. So I guess maybe the environment is just not an environment that my system works in. That's probably why we were not able to find any entries or whatever. But we're just going to continue to do what we need to do. All I'm going to do is just wait for a corrective structure. Some corrective structure, at some point, it's going to form. Nothing moves forever. And when it does stop, when it does stall, whatever corrective structure forms will again give us probabilities on this pair. So for now, New Zealand dollar CAD, off the watch list. There's nothing until we see all of this momentum slowing down and giving us some indication on either continuing with these buyers or a reversal structure, maybe to short after all of this buying momentum. Because you guys know that after you buy, when you buy, you close your buy and you take your profits. When you take your profits, your buy turns into a sell. So all of these institutions or whoever was involved inside of this momentum, eventually they're going to take profits. So markets will correct, even if it's not because of sellers jumping in, it will be because of buyers closing out profits. Let's go on to New Zealand dollar CAD. So for now, I mean New Zealand dollar yen. So for now, New Zealand dollar CAD is just, it's just there. She's just there. She's just there. We'll just watch her. So New Zealand dollar yen, I don't think we need to go up to a daily, because I guess you can see what the daily structure would look like. On a daily, obviously, there's a potential for us to come and give a nice third touch in structure. So keep that in mind, because I will update all of this chop that's going on here so that you guys can see how the probabilities are always changing. Areas of probability, where there were probabilities last week is not where there's going to be probabilities this week, because structures changed Things have developed. There's been new buyers over the course of last week, new sellers that came into the market. They changed things. They changed the environment. So obviously, whoever's going to make decisions next week, they're going to include what happened over the course of last week. So decisions are changing. The environment is always constantly changing. So hence, we've got to change with the environment. We always adapt and we change our structure. So if you guys need to, and I would suggest if you guys are still starting out and getting used to some sort of a process, delete all of your analysis every single week. Don't go into the next week with any thought processes from last week. Start afresh. If you see the same things, then that means the same structure is still there. If you don't see the same thing, then the environment has changed. Otherwise, on New Zealand dollar yen, obviously you guys can see that nice daily third touch area up there. But on a 4-hour, what I want to do is just come to the most recent price action over here. You guys saw we tried to short New Zealand dollar yen. She didn't play nice with us, but we did reduce risk and we only took like minus 0.25% on this pair. But otherwise, we will look to jump back in if she does give us another entry. We follow the money, we follow the money. We just change as the probabilities change, we adapt and we change with the structure. So let's just delete all of this stuff here just so that I can show you guys what the adjusted structure looks like. So let's just go back to our basics just for 1 second and talk about higher highs and higher lows and all of that stuff, just so that we understand this chop and I show you guys why I'm changing the structure the way I'm changing the structure. Anyway, we were looking for downside momentum. We had this ascending structure here, first touch, second touch, third touch. Sellers came into the market, right? So if we look at the structure, price came from the bottom. We created resistance ever since we created this high. This was the most recent extreme low that we created, important low. After we created this low, where's the most highest high inside of all of this nonsense? It's this high. So now I know I've got an extreme low, I've got an extreme high. After I had this extreme low, where's my next low? Is this low over here. Price action gave me this new low. After this new low was created, where's the next high? Price broke above this resistance and gave me a new high. So now you guys can see, yes, we have been adjusting and following the structure to find directional biases and whatever the case is. But all these small structures that we've been trying to trade have changed or have adjusted or have become some sort of a larger structure. Price is not just, or we won't be faked into us thinking, okay, maybe we're gonna have a lot of momentum to the downside now because there's an ascending structure. Okay, maybe the downside momentum is coming in now because there's another ascent. Now we understand, it's clear that price action is moving sideways. There is no direction higher time frame. We are inside some chop. And whenever we are inside chop, we do the safest thing. We find probabilities at our extreme highs and our extreme lows. That's just how we trade chop. If we ever go against that rule or try and trade chop in another way, we'll get different probabilities and different statistics. Let's go into how we're adjusting the structure. So we just spoke about our extreme highs and our extreme lows now. All we're going to do now is just draw them out using a trend line, just so that we make sense. And we know what we just spoke about, where our extreme highs were, where our extreme lows were. And now we've got some sort of an expanding structure. We understand that the structure is moving sideways, and naturally, so we want to trade either at extreme highs or extreme lows. Now we know that we're not going to look for any downside continuation. Yes, we had all of this nice stuff that gave us beautiful probabilities. Maybe the probabilities weren't there. Price action showed us. We were stopped out of the position. Price invalidated the setup that we were looking for. We can't be looking for the exact same setup now. Now, all we're doing, we've got a first touch, we've got a second touch. For us to be able to sell with good probabilities, patience is required for us to wait at least price action to come up, give us a third touch. With this added patience, we'll give price action the chance to give us even a structure. If we form a nice ascending structure, doesn't that increase the probabilities of us selling here? That's what patience does. We don't force the setup. We look to trade where we see the probabilities. Because we're trading with real money, we're taking risk. I don't want to buy something that I know I can't sell. I want to buy something that I know someone else will be able to buy from me at a higher price sometime in the future. Same thing with trading. I'm not going to buy something that I know I won't get rid of, or that I'm going to sell at a loss. So let's sell at premium, sell at the most expensive, buy at the cheapest, so that we make a profit when we get rid of whatever asset we're trading. Cool. So that's AJ. That's the update on AJ. So AJ, I think we're going to require, is going to need some patience for us. Let's just set an alert above here. We'll start to look for any sell bias setups from if AJ does come and break this resistance up there. Cool. We'll move on to US30. So let me just be a little bit quick with US30 because we still need to look at gold and we've got like 7 minutes left. So on US30, obviously we're coming towards some resistance over here. Nice resistance. The closer we get to resistance, the less we want to be sellers. But how we're playing US30 safe is we're just following the most recent price action. So most recent price action, we've got some sort of an expanding structure. It's ascending at the same time because we are creating higher highs and higher lows. So we know that, excuse me, as long as we inside of the structure, we can still trade the probabilities that the structure will give us. So obviously buy at support, sell at resistance. Coming into just extreme highs and extreme lows, I will go down onto a 1 hour for US30 because US30 is just like that. She needs that extra bit of attention from us. On a 1 hour, what I want to do is I just want to delete this 4 hour structure that we've got going on here. And let's just look at just this 1 hour structure, because I think if we just stick to the most recent structure, we'll get the best probabilities, I guess. So just looking at the structure, we've got momentum, right? After all of this momentum, we've got a nice break and a retest over here. After this nice break and a retest, our next resistance, we see price action breaking above and breaking below. So we can see that on a 1 hour, from the time we created this high and this low, price action started being corrective. So naturally, so I want to look for a corrective structure. So now that we've made sense of the structure on a 1 hour, now we can take into account the right most recent highs and the right most recent lows for us to be able to make sense of the structure and find areas of probability. On a 1 hour, obviously you guys can see there's buyers or someone bought aggressively from this area here. So naturally, so if price action comes inside here, we're going to need to see what probabilities will present themselves for us inside of there. Maybe there's a structure that's forming there. Nice first touch, second touch, third touch. Who knows? But obviously, we create the structures, we find the probabilities. Here's a nice momentum shift for our buy. Where is this momentum shift? This momentum shift is somewhere at our support trend line. If we're at support, what are we doing? We want to be buyers, but not sellers. So otherwise, this is where we'll look to find upside continuation on US30. For any sell bias trading opportunities, let's be safe and look to trade somewhere at our resistance trend line. Why the resistance trend line? The resistance trend line will be closer to this extreme high. I want to trade at extreme highs. There's already a lot of buyers. And who wants to go against a whole lot of buyers? Maybe not a lot of people. So let's be safe. If we're looking to sell, let's aggressively try and buy and follow through, because we can see it's obvious. There's someone that's willing to buy US30. They've been buying US30 for the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I don't know, maybe even 2-3 months. I don't know. So let's just look at gold, because that was the most requested pair before. So US30, guys, I am bullish bias. You guys do see from which POI we are bullish bias. You guys do see a sell bias setup that can form for us at a future date and time. Let's just look at gold quickly with our last few seconds, because that was the most requested pair there. Awesome. Jesus, why gold looks like a pair that I trade. I know my pairs. Gold looks like AUDCAD. Gold looks like AUDCAD. But otherwise, let's just do the analysis quickly. So higher time frame, guys, you guys can see we're moving pretty much sideways, but let's make sense of the structure. Making sense of the structure, we've got an extreme low. The price action has broken below, broken back above. Huge momentum shift, obviously, there. We want to trade in direction of who we see trading there. So obviously, we want to get in. We want to be involved ourselves with all of these buyers that are involved there. So obviously, from a higher time frame, on a daily, we can already see bullish engulfings. There's a bullish engulfing there. There's a bullish engulfing over here. There's a bullish engulfing over here. So already there's 3 areas that I know that on a 4 hour, that's where I want to be a buyer. If I find momentum shift areas on a 4 hour, that's where I want to buy. Looking at the overall structure, we can see price action's been coming down, creating lower lows, lower highs. This is the most recent low that price action has broken below and broken above. And obviously at a future date in time, we can come back to retest. You guys can see it aligns with a nice momentum shift area. So obviously we have an area of our best probabilities. Best probabilities for whatever corrective structure can form are here. We also have our structure. Resistance, where are we? We're at a high, we're at resistance. Can we be buyers there? No, it makes a lot more sense for us to be a seller at resistance. Otherwise, you guys can clearly see there's an inverse head and shoulders that can form here. Obviously, this is the right shoulder. The right shoulder terminates at a nice area of momentum shift. So obviously, you guys know that if there's a corrective structure, that's where you want to find the termination of your corrective structure for your best probabilities. Dropping down onto a 4 hour, Do we find any areas of momentum shift? There's an area of momentum shift over here. Obviously, we can refine this structure over there to just there. There is no area of momentum shift over there, so we can't refine it there. There is no area of momentum shift over there, so we can't refine it there. So now I know that the first place that I want to look for buying, any buying continuation to involve myself with all of these buyers, the first area of probabilities is here. So I can find area opportunities to sell if setup gives me an opportunity to sell. But I do know that if ever I want to buy gold and I want to buy with higher time frame buyers, this is where I want whatever corrective structure, if there is a corrective structure that forms here, that is where I want to find my termination and continuation to the upside. Guys, I wanted to be very quick because we've got like 2 minutes left, and I did want to do the analysis and still just only stay relevant to higher time frames, because I don't trade gold, and I always find that sticking to the higher time frames will always give you the best probabilities. Doesn't matter what pairs you're trading, because higher time frames always give the most relevant information. We're using support and resistance. Support and resistance on a higher time frame will follow through much more than support and resistance on a 1 minute. Otherwise, let me just show you why I was saying that gold looks like level of structure. We broke below whatever, all that momentum, AUDCAD. I know my pairs. All of this level of structure that we broke below momentum shift. I don't know if you guys can see the resemblance between AUDCAD and and gold, but in my head, oh damn, in my head, I can definitely see that these two structures look very similar. Gold and AUDCAD. The setups look kind of almost similar. But otherwise, I'm 100% done with the analysis. Guys, for those of you maybe that came late and that missed a couple of pairs, this is going on YouTube, so you guys will catch the update. For you guys that are going to catch this on YouTube, you guys don't like to like and subscribe, so like and subscribe. Otherwise, let there be peace in the streets. Thanks so much, guys, for being part of the session. I will update you guys through the week as the pairs develop. Cheers. Have a great week, guys.